Alrighty, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Very Cold Lasagna, the podcast that is a safe and open listening platform for casual, cold, and even the dumbest takes on the world of WWE, AEW, the NFL, and the wide world of pro wrestling and sports in general. I'm your host, DylanLasagna. Welcome to today's episode number 54 of this freezing cold podcast that is always in the fridge with that tasty cold lasagna. So today, we got another good show for you all. So it's once again time to open up that fridge, get that tasty lasagna, because we're here to talk about yet another loss by the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, another week, another L for the red and gold. It's kind of disappointing to talk about every week, how the Niners keep losing in what should be at least a playoff run for them. But sadly, it's each and every week that passes, it's not looking that way. So today, we're going to be talking about the 49ers trip to the desert to take on the undefeated Arizona Cardinals in Week 5. We're going to be talking about all the highlights, my winners and losers from the game, my takeaways, and there was supposed to be a game played by the Niners, but they are on bye this week. They are on a early ass Week 6 bye, so they're one of the first of 4 teams to be on a bye week this week. And it can be argued that, well, they need it. They need this bye week. So we're going to be talking about all of that in this episode. And real quick, I am still coping from the most recent defeat by the other San Francisco team, the Giants. They lost a barn burner. They lost a heartbreaker to the LA Dodgers in Game 5 of the National League Division Series, the quote-unquote first round, the semifinals, I guess, of the Major League Baseball playoff round, for those of you that don't watch baseball. And it was a good game. This was like one of the most interesting games I've seen as a very, very casual fan, a very casual viewer of baseball. It was like really down to the wire. It was honestly very fast paced too, and this was a good game. But sadly, they just couldn't execute. They couldn't execute on offense. Logan Webb, their pitcher, pitched a very good game. Tyler Rogers did decent in relief. The Duvall guy, the closer, he was supposedly the flamethrower, but man, did that flame die out real quick. I guess the moment got too big for a lot of these guys. I mean, the inexperience kicked in fast throughout the series. But one particular moment when the Giants were down 2-1, Cody Bellinger gave the Dodgers the go-ahead RBI lead. That's runners batted in for baseball lingo. But yeah, he gave them the lead when Cody Bellinger for the Dodgers literally struggled all series long, and then all of a sudden he hits the go-ahead run. But anyway, when the Giants are down to their last out, they're down to their last strike. I think it was Darren Ruff that was at bat. No, it was Flores. He was at bat, and he barely swung it. It's called a check swing. So when you're swinging the ball, it's like you can like half swing it, I guess, and to check it. And then the first base umpire, he was kind of like a dumbass, and he called it. He thought that he fully swung it and struck him out. That was a strikeout for Max Scherzer of the Dodgers. And I'm like, oh my God, really? This is how we end the game here on a half swing? I was like so pissed at that. I was very, very pissed at that. That's how the Giants went down. They're apparently 107 win season, their best season ever in terms of franchise wins. But man, what a way to end their season. I mean, it's surprising that they've gotten this far, but man, it's just so sad. It's just so disappointing, like that the game had to end that way, like as if they had to rub even more salt in the wound, that they had to end it on a freaking check swing that the first base umpire clearly favored. Oh, it's a strike. it's a strikeout for the Dodgers. Like, okay, it became very clear that first base umpire was sucking the Dodgers' dick. Yeah, he was clearly getting paid by the Dodgers, so he can bring them to the NLCS, and then he's probably going to be there too to help them get to the World Series. And the Astros, the Houston Astros, the cheaters, who was caught stealing pitching signs using various objects, they're probably going to get to the World Series too, so they can have that all praised rematch by the media and by the MLB, so the Dodgers can have their revenge on the Astros for stealing their World Series title from 2017. This is pretty much how it's going to be. I can guarantee it now. The Dodgers is going to beat the Braves, and the Astros is going to beat the Red Sox, and we're going to get Dodgers and Astros again in the World Series. Only this time, the Dodgers are probably going to exact their revenge on the cheaters, and it's going to make the MLB a shit ton of money, and no one will care, except for the fans of baseball, the fans of the teams. But I just want to see something different, man. I just want to see. I would have wanted to see my team, the Giants, going up against either the Astros or the Red Sox. The Red Sox matchup would have been interesting, having them go all the way to face the Giants. That would have been cool. But alas, that is not to be the case this year. But hopefully the Giants get back in that position next year. Like, they have the pieces to get back to that spot. It's just a matter of execution for them. But enough rambling about the Giants. I just hope they get back there. But we're here to talk about the 49ers. You already know what to do with the social media, the plugs, the shilling. I'll get to that in the end, because with the 49ers, there isn't really much to talk about with this game, because there wasn't really much positives. There really wasn't much positive when it came to this game. So we're going to dive right into it. We're going to dive right into it this week. A little change of pace instead of me shilling about the social medias first and then going to the topic. So we're going to go in the other way around for change of pace. So the 49ers headed into this game against the Arizona Cardinals. 2-2. They just lost to the division rival Seattle Seahawks. It was the second game of their NFC West, kind of like their slate. They already lost the first one to Seattle. They were 0-1 in the division. They couldn't afford to go 0-2 because, well, any loss at that point, like losing to the Cardinals, well, their chances of competing for the division title was pretty much already over. So they headed to the desert, 2-2. They're going to be facing a red-hot Arizona team that had a Red Sea air attack, that I like to call it. They had Kyler Murray, AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk. They also had James Conner and Chase Edmonds. I don't think Chase Edmonds played in this game, but still, they still had a dangerous attack. And now, after this game, I would like to mention this fact now. They just added Zach Ertz from the Philadelphia Eagles, who, keep in mind, he played in the Thursday night game against the Tampa Bay Bucks. So it was kind of weird that Zach Ertz played and even got a touchdown in the Thursday night game against Tampa, and then the next day he was traded to Arizona. Like, damn. So anyway, it was very crucial for the Niners to win this game against Arizona. Otherwise, they're pretty much done in the division race. So this was also Trey Lance's our third overall pick. His first start in the NFL. He was going to be starting his first game. Jimmy Garoppolo out with the calf injury, and George Kittle is not in this game. The tight end, he's not playing this game. He was designated for IR the day before the Arizona game with I forgot what injury it was, but it was enough to keep him on IR for the minimum 3 weeks. So the Niners were kind of going into this game pretty banged up. They were going into this game banged up. So I guess the week 6 bye is kind of good, I guess, in this case. but still pretty early. But then, here we go. Week 5. Niners, Cardinals in the desert. We get to the first quarter. The Niners have the ball first. They did decent on the first 2 plays. Trey Lance did all right. He did enough to move the ball downfield a bit. But this is his first big mistake at the game. He threw the ball too high for Travis Benjamin, and Cardinals linebacker Budda Baker intercepted it and got it past midfield to pretty much end the Niners' first possession early. It's something that a lot of people like myself were pissed about, but it's something that Trey Lance will learn. It is more trial and error for the rookie quarterback. Definitely not a good start, but it was pretty much a theme for the day. Trial and error for the rookie quarterback. So the Cardinals immediately got to the red zone, got a 1-yard touchdown out of James Conner, and it was already 7-0 from there. The 49ers also had a good chance on their next possession to get in the Cardinals' red zone on their next possession, but for whatever reason, Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, elected to call for 2 quarterback run plays. So when Trey Lance snapped the ball, he had to run with it like right away. And this happened on both 3rd and 4th down, and he didn't get them. And I get it. Shanahan was trying to play to win in this game, but he was making pushy calls on a guy that had no prior experience executing them. He's calling the quarterback runs on a guy that had like no experience doing any of this in the NFL. Like, he probably had experience doing it in college, but it's different in college than in the NFL. So after the 4th down play that failed miserably, Kyler Murray got sacked big time, at least, by DJ Jones, and the Cardinals were forced to punt 2 plays later. So at least there's some good signs from the defense. So when we get to the second quarter, the Niners get a good possession for once, and we got a good glimpse of Trey Lance's passing ability. He finally got the fastball, the hard fastball, under control, and that included a tight window throw to Brandon Ayuk, who finally got out of his funk. He's starting to get rhythm in this offensive scheme. But once they got into the 1-yard line, this was kind of more so Trey Lance's fault. Trey decided to run it on 4th and goal, and he was pretty much stopped by a wall of defenders. Now, in that 4th and goal at the 1-yard line, there were 2 things that Trey Lance could have done. He could have checked it down to Elijah Mitchell. He's literally right in front of him. Elijah Mitchell, the rookie running back, was right in front of Trey Lance. Trey could have just dunked it to him, and Mitchell could have just ran it in for a touchdown from there. He also could have lobbed it to tight end Ross Dwelly. He was open, and the defender was like there. He could have swatted it down, but still, Trey Lance had options. But he still ran it, and then even though he ran it, he didn't need to dive head first into the defenders. He could have jumped over them, and yeah, sure, he might have not gotten his body across, but he still has to make that effort to get the ball over the pylon, over the goal line, so the officials can count it as a touchdown. So again, these are things that Trey Lance has to learn. He has to learn how to not use his body, not use his head to stop the run, and he also has to find other ways to make plays, like that 4th and goal where I just mentioned. And there's another, I guess I'll mention it here, some other aspects of his running that he has to fix, like sliding. He tried to dive too much with his body. He has to learn how to slide, and putting his body out there, diving like this, it's gonna get him hurt. It is gonna get him hurt, and I don't want him to get concussed. So the Cardinals got back in the red zone on the 49ers side after Kyler Murray got 2 big throws to get the Cardinals out of their own deep end. But the Cardinals came up empty on 3rd and goal, so they had to settle for a field goal. So at least the 49ers defense was able to do its job on that end. They also, toward the end of the first half, Nick Bosa got a big sack on Kyler Murray. That pretty much any chance of Arizona getting more points. They tried to go for a very long field goal, a very rushed field goal, but it went wide right. It was kind of funny that they even tried for it instead of just walking off to end the first half. So overall, I mean, it could have been worse. And it could have been much worse. It could have been a total blowout. But the 49ers defense did a pretty good job in containing this Cardinals offense and pretty much like containing Kyler Murray and forcing him to be very, very erratic with the ball. So then we get into the second half, and both teams were pretty much at a stalemate for much of the third quarter. The Niners offense was trying to get downfield for much of the midway through the third quarter, but stupid penalties like the ones from Mike McGlinchey, the right tackle, it continued to stall the momentum. He was called for 2 holding penalties. I think those were back to back. I'm like, I was getting so pissed at McGlinchey because it's like this dude hasn't learned from last season. He's like, he's getting called for holding. It's like, just push him back, dude. That's all you gotta do. And then the defense also again clamped down on the Cardinals, and they kept forcing Kyler Murray to making erratic throws, and the secondary actually did pretty solid here too in making plays and covering all the Cardinals defenders. So they did a decent job here. Midway through, the 49ers finally got in the end zone. Deebo Samuel scored a touchdown to cut the lead 10-7. So there was an opportunity. There was an opportunity for the 49ers to take the lead. So going into the fourth quarter, the Niners defense, again, did a great job containing Kyler Murray, but the problem was the offense. Because, well, stupid holding penalties from the offensive line, and then multiple bad fourth down plays. Like, I get it. Kyle Shanahan's trying to play to win, but it was still very early in the game. I don't know what was going on here. I really don't know what was happening here. There was a bad fourth down play early in the fourth quarter. Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, took the snap, tried to sneak it in, but failed miserably. Like, I don't know what kind of play call was that. It was like, did he botch the snap, or like he took the direct snap and tried to do his best Jimmy Garoppolo impression and tried to quarterback sneak it. It's like the Cardinals didn't buy into it. They did not buy into that. And then they got the ball back from a fumble, and they got it back to midfield, but then they turned it over on downs again. I just didn't understand this. Like, I didn't understand why they needed to go for it on fourth down almost nearly every single possession. Like, what they could have done was punt it. They could have just punted it and pinned the Cardinals deep, and then have the defense, continually pressure Kyler Murray, and then they force a punt so Trey Lance can have an opportunity to get his offense into the red zone. I don't know what Kyle Shanahan continually tried to insist on going for on fourth down for much of this game. And as a result, those 2 failed fourth down attempts finally got the Cardinals out of their funk for at least one possession. And Kyler Murray got like 2 desperation throws into DeAndre Hopkins, and one of those was a touchdown. And the lead extended to 17-10. The Niners got a field goal in, so it cut the lead 17-10. But sadly, they couldn't get a stop on the Cardinals on defense, and that was pretty much the game. 17-10. Niners lose this one in a honestly closer game than I thought it would be, but still, a loss is a loss. And they are down 0-2 in the division. Their division hopes are pretty much done. I'm gonna say it now. Any chance that the Niners have with the NFC West, like competing for the division, is all but finished. Yes, this early in the season, is done. It's finito. It's done. Okay, there, John. So, my overall thoughts on this game. The defense played well in this one. The defense honestly played well. The front four did good. The secondary did pretty solid. It was just they gave up a couple of big plays, but other than that, they did pretty good. And they have to thank the front four for that, because if the front four didn't do its job, well, they were fucked. They were pretty fucked. But sadly, stupid, unforced penalties from the offensive line. I guess the inexperience, the raw aspects of Trey Lance, too. And some really bad play calls from Kyle Shanahan cost the Niners multiple opportunities to win this game. So this was honestly a very winnable game for the 49ers, but they just kept getting in their own way. So we talked about the game. Now let's talk about some winners and losers. The defense. Like I said, the defense, I thought they were going to get their asses beat by the Cardinals. I thought they were just going to get completely blown out, and I honestly thought this was going to be a shutout for the Cardinals. But I was completely wrong. I was dead wrong. So I got to give the defense a lot of credit. Whatever DeMeco Ryans, the defensive coordinator, did, whatever game plan he did, I gotta give him props. I really gotta give him props. So they only limited the Cards to just 17 points, and while 2 of them were touchdowns, still, like, it could have been a lot worse. The front 7 did a really great job in making Kyler Murray nervous all game long, making him throw the ball away, making him get really erratic, and they got a couple of sacks on him. And Nick Bosa had a good game too. So while the secondary leaves much to be desired, they did decent too. That with the front 7 playing well in this game, the secondary got a boost too in locking down on the receivers too, and making sure that they don't get the big plays. Well, outside of those big throws from Kyler Murray in the second and fourth quarter, the Cardinals receiving attack was pretty silent in this game. So overall, the defense is pretty good. Now, another winner in my book is running back Elijah Mitchell. He's been getting steadily better as the weeks go by. Now, he can still get some improvement, but still, he's been finding running room for himself, creating his own lanes for nice yardage. And once Trey Sermon comes back healthy and he matches that production that Mitchell is having, they could be a good running backfield to replace the injured Raheem Mostert. I can't believe I'm saying it, but that would be an insane backfield to have for this offense. Now, as for some of the losers, well, for the 5th week in a row, it's Kyle Shanahan. Like, man, that play calling was butt cheeks. It was really, really butt cheeks. Like, he called 2 straight plays in the first, I think it was in the first quarter or the second quarter, but regardless, 2 straight plays, 3rd and 4th down, he called 2 quarterback runs. And especially on the 4th down, where he called for Trey Lance to run it in, try to sneak it in, and Trey Lance couldn't do it. Like, why are you trying to run it on 4th down when they could have had Trey Lance throw it to, I think it was Deebo Samuel or whoever was on his right side. They could have had him throw it to the receiver on his right side and then get the first down yards, or have Trey Lance run on the outside, or have the defender think that, oh, Trey Lance is gonna run, pass it, check it down on the right side, but he's actually gonna run it to get the first down yards. But no, he runs down the middle. You have Trey Lance run down the middle and try to get the first down there, but it fails miserably. Like, Shanahan, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to prove here? And then the other 4th down attempts, like Juszczyk trying to sneak it in. Like, what kind of play call is that? Like, what kind of play call was that? And then the 4th down attempt in the 4th quarter, I mean, Trey Lance threw it too high, but still, like, have it, like, you gotta help your quarterback here. And Shanahan's not doing it. He's coming up with really, really questionable play calls for his QB. And it makes me wonder if this is really the guy that the 49ers should have as their coach to build up Trey Lance. Seriously. And Mike McGlinchey, the right tackle. This dude allowed J.J. Watt, the Cardinals defensive end, to get to Trey Lance countless times. and he got flagged 2 straight times for holding. While the 49ers were trying to get back in this game, and it stalled their momentum. Like, McGlinchey hasn't done well since 2019, and I think it's time to wonder whether it's time to let him go after this season and rebuild that offensive line, because McGlinchey is not it, man. He's kind of a bust in my eyes. Now, as for some of the takeaways from this latest loss, I think Kyle Shanahan should be on the hot seat. He really should. I can't repeat myself enough, but with the questionable play calling, his lack of trust in probably several of the players, especially on Brandon Ayuk, I think it's time to put Shanahan on the hot seat. And to add the fact that he's very egotistical, it should be enough to consider putting him on the hot seat. Now, I also added John Lynch, but his seat is a little on the mild side, because, well, his draft picks, at least most of them, aren't living up to the potential right now. So both of their seats are getting a little tense there. Now, another one is about Trey Lance. Now, as frustrating as that game was for Trey Lance, as for us Niners fans, we all have to remember that Trey Lance is still a pet project. He's still a work in progress. Trey Lance only started 19 games in North Dakota State, and his 2020 season, he only started 1 game, and the rest of their season was shut down due to COVID. So he's still a pretty raw prospect. Not much has been seen of Lance in action. So what we saw Sunday was just a little snippet of what he can do and what he still needs to work on. But Shanahan needs to seriously study with him one-on-one and tap into his strengths and weaknesses. I think it's like as if he didn't work with him during the offseason. He's using him as if he was working with RG3, like Robert Griffin III. Because every so often, he's going for design run plays with Trey Lance, and he should be mixing that up with Trey's passing ability. We see what Trey Lance can do with his arm. Let him throw the ball, please. And I don't want to see him end up like RG3, because, well, he's gonna get hurt. And, well, he apparently is hurt at least a little bit, because he now has a minor left knee injury, and it leaves him in doubt for next Sunday's game against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday night. And we don't know who's going to start, whether it's Jimmy G or Trey Lance. So, man, not good. So, all in all, it was just a learning experience for Trey Lance, but Kyle Shanahan's not doing him any favors either. And last but not least, I'm going to keep it real with you all. The Niners are not a playoff team this year. They are not. They are not. Especially with that secondary, with the way they're playing. Even before Jason Verrett got injured, even before he got hurt in Week 1, they're not a playoff team with that bad secondary. Let's face it, Josh Norman is washed. He was getting repeatedly burnt by the Cardinals. He also got burnt by the Seahawks. He commits too many penalties. They're not going to the postseason if they're going to get burnt like that, and they don't have the offense to back it up. Yes, injuries derailed this promising season, but it's not as severe, at least right now, as last year, where they would just get pounded. Injury mania ran wild. There's just more injuries hurting. There's just more than just injuries hurting this team. The running back room is so-so. They're still work in progress. Obviously, Trey Lance is still work in progress. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't been as terrible, but he's not doing enough to win the team games. And also the fact that he's injury prone. Let's forget about his 22-8 or 24-10 winning record as a starter for the 49ers. Seriously, let's let's stop with that statistic, people. Like, best availability is the best ability is availability. And Jimmy Garoppolo is a lot of the times never there for the 49ers when they need him. And this, like, then the people still think that he's the savior of the franchise. So, all in all, they're not a playoff team. And also add to the fact that Kyle Shanahan's ego is getting in the way. Like, I'm really starting to question if he's the right guy to be coaching this team. Like, he just gets in the way of everything, whether it's lack of trust in players, his dumb dick play calling, or like his sense of I want my own quarterback to lead his team to the promised land. It's just a very confusing situation, and as a result, I don't think that the Niners are a playoff team. I really don't. I really don't. So it's kind of sad to see, but it's the truth. I'm sorry to say it. So with that being said, we talked about Week 5, the Niners game against the Cardinals. Yeah, there's no game next on Sunday. There's no game this Sunday. We'll have to wait another week when the Niners come back to face the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football. So instead of a preview for the Niners' upcoming game against the Colts, which will wait until next week when I go into the weekly recap of all the NFL games. So what I'll do is not only talk about all the NFL games in my usual weekly recap, but I'll insert the 49ers recap. Not the 49ers recap, the Niners preview of their Sunday night game against the Indianapolis Colts in there as well. So kind of like a 2-for-1 deal in that one. So that's what I'll do. And then you'll see that uploaded to the YouTube channel. So for now, as to like kind of like compliment the lack of a preview for the next game, we're going to be talking about what they need to do during the bye week. Since, well, they're on vacation this week. And, well, Trey Lance, George Kittle, and DJ Jones. Sadly, I got to see the Giants lose to the Dodgers. So, what they need to do during the bye week is obviously get healthy. Like, George Kittle's on IR. Trey Lance has a minor knee injury. Jimmy Garoppolo has that calf sprain. There's a bunch of other injuries that I probably don't know about. But still, everyone just has to get healthy. Use this bye week to, rest and relax. And then, obviously, once they come back, get ready for the Indianapolis Colts in Week 7 on the bright lights of Sunday Night Football there. So, the number one key thing for this bye week is to get healthy. And obviously, it's happening. The bye week's happening as we speak. But, nonetheless, everyone just has to get healthy. That's the number one thing that they have to do. The other thing that they have to do, and hopefully they've been doing it, is that John Lynch is starting to scout help for the secondary in the trade market. Now, he has to be careful, though, not to overspend any draft capital of whatever they have left. I don't know if they can make a run for Patriots corner or Stephon Gilmore, if he's still available, or if Patriots are still willing to trade him, or I don't know who else is available in the trade market for like secondary. But nonetheless, John Lynch should find somebody like for the secondary in the trade market to help out this very, very bad like corner position in the 49ers. And last but not least, Kyle Shanahan needs to do a bunch of things. He has to decide on his starting quarterback for the Colts game in Week 7 and stick with him for the rest of the season. Let's not, I don't want to see this flip-flop thing that Brian Flores did with the Miami Dolphins last year, where he interchangeably switched Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua Tagovailoa back and forth in the second half of each games because either Ryan Fitzpatrick or Tua wasn't doing well. So let's not do that, because it's gonna ruin Trey Lance's or Jimmy G's confidence. It's a really big confidence breaker. And also ruins the flow of the offense. So Shanahan needs to decide who's going to be the starter for Week 7 and have him start for the rest of the season. That's going to be the starter going forward. So Shanahan has to do that. Shanahan also has to find more ways to get more creative with the play calling. He has to spend the bye week finding ways to adjust his plays instead of relying on the run-pass option, the quarterback runs, always using the runs in the middle, the jet sweeps, all that. Get some designed runs on the outside and make more frequent use of the mid-air play-action passes. And if Shanahan can't vary up his play calling, if he can't adjust his play calls, well, he needs to give it to his new offensive coordinator. I believe the Niners still have the offensive coordinator that they hired in the offseason. So let him try something against the Colts. Let him call plays on the offense, whoever that is, and if they have an offensive coordinator now. So they got to twinkle with some things here. They got to make some adjustments, and they also got to get healthy. They got to get some help on the secondary. They got to do a lot of things during this bye week that's ongoing for them. But overall, another disappointing loss for them, and some things that they have to consider during this bye week. But what do you guys think about this latest loss by the 49ers? How are you feeling about them at the quarterway point of this NFL season? Let me know. I'm certainly a little hurt by the way they're going about it and the way that their season's happening, but it is what it is. I certainly don't think they're a playoff team, but they should be using the season to build a foundation for Trey Lance. But we'll see what happens for the rest of this season. But that is it for this recap edition for the San Francisco 49ers on this episode of Very Cold Lasagna. I'm your host, DylanLasagna. Thank you for tuning in to this fine episode of the show. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of pro wrestling and sports in general inside of the very cold fridge with that tasty and very cold lasagna. And always make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on that notification bell so you'll be notified of each and every podcast that comes up on the channel, as well as those exclusive video extras that come out onto the YouTube channel as well. Make sure to listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, and Google Podcasts. And follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. Until next time, until the next Niners game, until the next NFL game, what have you, peace out.